How often do you see your friends?
I meet my closest friends weekly, usually for coffee or walks. Though work keeps us busy, we prioritize these catch-ups. They're essential for maintaining our bond. With others, social media helps bridge gaps between occasional in-person meetings.
What qualities do you value in a friend?
Trustworthiness tops my list. Knowing I can confide in someone without judgment is priceless. I also appreciate humor. A friend who can lighten tough moments with laughter makes life's challenges easier to navigate.
Do you prefer a few close friends or many acquaintances?
Definitely a few deep connections. While acquaintances add variety, close friends offer emotional safety and understanding that's hard to replicate. Quality over quantity resonates with me.
How do you maintain long-distance friendships?
Regular video calls and shared activities, like watching films simultaneously, help. Sending voice notes instead of texts adds a personal touch, making the distance feel smaller.
Did you have a childhood friend who influenced you?
Yes, my primary school friend Mia taught me resilience. Her optimism during her family's hardships showed me how to face adversity with grace, a lesson I still carry today. I like to talk about Mihiraa, who is now one of my closest friends, though our friendship had a rather rocky start. Mihiraa was a classmate of mine during our first year at university, and we were assigned to the same study group for a psychology course. When I first met her, I must admit I found her quite off-putting. She came across as overly assertive, always dominating group discussions with her opinions, and she had a habit of interrupting others mid-sentence. I remember thinking she was arrogant and inconsiderate, and I actively avoided interacting with her beyond what was necessary for our assignments. Our strained relationship continued for several weeks until an incident that completely changed my perspective. We were working on a major group project, and I had taken charge of compiling our research. At the last minute, my laptop crashed, and I lost all my work. Panicked, I confessed to the group that we might miss the deadline. To my surprise, Mihiraa didn't criticize or blame me as I'd expected. Instead, she calmly suggested we work through the night to recreate everything. What shocked me even more was how she stayed up with me until 4 a.m., patiently helping me rewrite the lost sections. Her dedication and kindness in that moment made me realize I'd misjudged her. As I got to know Mihiraa better, I discovered that what I perceived as arrogance was actually passion. She was deeply invested in her studies and eager to share knowledge, not to show off. Her tendency to interrupt stemmed from enthusiasm rather than disrespect, and she was genuinely working on improving this habit. We started spending more time together outside of class, and I found her to be incredibly loyal, funny, and surprisingly vulnerable once she let her guard down. She confessed that she'd been nervous about making friends in university and had overcompensated by being overly confident. Looking back, this experience taught me a valuable lesson about first impressions and the importance of giving people second chances. My friendship with Mihiraa has become one of the most meaningful relationships in my life. She was the maid of honor at my wedding last year. What began as mutual irritation transformed into a bond built on mutual respect and understanding. I now appreciate how our initial friction led to a deeper connection, and I often think about how different my life would be if I hadn't looked beyond my first impression of her. This experience has made me more open-minded when meeting new people, reminding me that everyone has layers worth discovering.
How do you think friendships today are different from those in the past?
Modern friendships have evolved significantly due to technology and changing social dynamics. In the past, friendships were primarily built through consistent face-to-face interaction within local communities, schools, or workplaces, creating deep but geographically limited bonds. Today, digital platforms allow us to maintain connections across continents effortlessly, but this convenience sometimes comes at the expense of depth. Social media encourages broader, but often more superficial networks, where friends may number in the hundreds yet lack the intimacy of traditional friendships. Another shift is in communication styles. While older generations relied on lengthy phone calls or letters, younger people prefer instant messaging, which is efficient but can reduce emotional nuance. However, technology also enables niche connections. People with rare interests or identities can now find like-minded friends globally, which was nearly impossible before. Despite these changes, the core human need for trust, support, and shared experiences remains unchanged. The challenge lies in balancing digital convenience with meaningful engagement to avoid isolation in an increasingly connected world.
What role do friends play in a person's mental health?
Friends are a cornerstone of emotional well-being, acting as both a buffer against stress and a source of joy. Psychologically, close friendships provide validation and belonging, which counteracts feelings of loneliness, a known risk factor for depression and anxiety. Unlike familial relationships, friendships are chosen, making their support feel especially affirming. When a friend listens without judgment or offers perspective during crises, it fosters resilience. Social interaction with friends also releases oxytocin and dopamine, neurotransmitters that reduce stress and enhance happiness. Conversely, toxic friendships or social isolation can severely harm mental health, exacerbating conditions like low self-esteem or chronic stress. For adolescents, peer relationships are particularly crucial in shaping identity and coping mechanisms, while for adults, friends often become surrogate family, especially in urban environments where traditional community structures weaken. Ultimately, quality friendships function as an informal therapy network, encouraging healthier lifestyles, providing reality checks, and reminding individuals they're valued beyond utilitarian roles in society.
Can friendships formed online be as meaningful as in-person ones?
While skeptics argue that digital friendships lack depth, many people now forge profoundly meaningful connections online, especially in contexts where physical interaction is limited. Online platforms allow individuals to bond over shared passions, struggles, or identities. Gamers, rare disease patients, or expatriates, for example, creating intimacy through vulnerability in text or voice chats. For introverts or marginalized groups, the anonymity of the internet can lower social barriers, enabling honesty that might be stifled offline. However, the absence of physical cues like body language or touch requires extra effort to build trust, often through prolonged, intentional communication. Studies show that online friendships can match offline ones in emotional support when they transition to voice/video calls or meetups. That said, purely text-based relationships may struggle during crises, as digital mediums can't fully replicate the comfort of a hug or shared silence. The key is intentionality. Online friendships become meaningful when both parties invest time and emotional energy, just as in-person ones do.
Why do some friendships fade over time?
Friendship decay is a natural yet often painful consequence of life's transitions and evolving priorities. In youth, proximity and shared routines like school or hobbies bind people together, but adulthood introduces diverging paths. Career demands, relocation, or family responsibilities reduce time and energy for nurturing old bonds. Psychological growth also plays a role. As individuals mature, their values or interests may shift, making once strong connections feel strained. Some friendships hinge on specific life stages, like university or parenthood, and wane when those phases end. Modern society's mobility exacerbates this. Unlike past generations who often stayed in one community, people today relocate frequently for work, scattering friendships geographically. Technology, while helpful, can create an illusion of connection through passive social media engagement, masking emotional distance. Importantly, not all fading friendships reflect failure. Some dissolve amicably when mutual needs change. However, neglecting to communicate expectations or invest effort accelerates decay, leaving unresolved tensions where there was once intimacy.
How do cultural differences influence friendship dynamics?
Cultural norms profoundly shape how friendships are formed, maintained, and expressed. In collectivist societies like Japan or India, Friendships often develop within tight-knit groups and may prioritize long-term loyalty over individual needs, whereas individualist cultures like the U.S. encourage diverse, activity-based friendships with clearer boundaries between social circles. Communication styles also vary. In high-context cultures, e.g. Arab countries, friends might rely on implicit understanding and frequent contact, while low-context cultures, e.g. Germany, value directness and independence, wherein frequent meetups don't imply neglect. Physical affection, common in Latin American friendships but restrained in East Asian ones, can lead to misunderstandings across cultures. Additionally, the role of friendship differs. In some societies, friends are considered chosen family and involved in personal decisions, while elsewhere, they remain separate from familial duties. Globalization is blending these dynamics, especially among younger generations exposed to multicultural influences, yet core differences persist. Navigating cross-cultural friendships requires empathy and adaptability to bridge these invisible divides, turning potential friction into rich learning opportunities.